Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we're tackling something we all handle every day, but maybe don't fully grasp. Money. What is it, fundamentally? Prepare yourselves, because some common ideas might get shaken up.
Yeah, that's right. Look, most people use money and currency interchangeably. And honestly, that confusion isn't really an accident. We need to understand a key historical shift, a kind of rupture, to make sense of the new digital stuff coming out. So let's start with.
Well, with true money, according to one strong perspective, think of it as something stable, universally accepted as a measure of value. It needs to be hard to fake, and crucially, it has to hold up over time. Gold is the classic example, isn't it? For thousands of years, it's rare, it's durable, it was accepted pretty much everywhere. The idea here is that money preserves your purchasing power. It's like a steel ruler, reliable, unchanging.
A steel ruler. I like that. But, okay, if gold is the steel ruler money, then what are the euros, the dollars, the pounds we actually use, in our wallets, in our bank accounts? Right, that's the critical pivot. Those euros, those dollars. In this framework, they're currency. They are what governments issue and, well, convince us to call money. Fiat currencies. They depend entirely on faith in the issuer, and crucially, they can be created pretty much without limit. There's no inherent scarcity like gold. So, here's the stark contrast. Money preserves. Currency. Currency corrodes.
You mean inflation?
Exactly. Inflation. Think about it. What could you buy with, say, 10 euros or $10 10 years ago compared to today? It's way less, right?
Yeah, definitely.
That's not necessarily prices going up. It's the value of the currency going down. Its purchasing power is eroding. Some argue, quite forcefully, that inflation is just a polite term for, well, legalized theft.
Legalized theft. That's a very strong way to put it.
It is provocative, yeah. But the logic is your work, your effort is stored in this currency, and its value is systematically diluted over time by the continuous creation of more currency. It's like trying to fill a bucket that has a hole in it. You keep pouring your labor in, but it keeps leaking out.
The bucket with a hole.
Whoa.
I get the metaphor. But Main Street economics often presents some inflation as necessary, even healthy, for an economy. What's the counter to that? Is there a historical context here?
Absolutely. That connects to the historical rupture I mentioned. For a long time, money was tied to something real, like gold or silver, commodity-backed, naturally scarce. But in the 20th century, particularly after 1971, that link was severed. We moved fully into the era of fiat currency backed only by government decree. Now, this gives governments flexibility, sure. They can manage economic cycles, fund spending, but it also gives them the power to expand the currency supply almost indefinitely. So from this critical viewpoint, inflation becomes a tool, yes, but often one that benefits the issuer funding spending, devaluing debt at the direct expense of the holder's long-term purchasing power. It's a fundamental change in the nature of what we use as money.
Okay, so that sets the stage. We have this potentially corroding currency system.
Yeah.
How does this perspective help us understand what's happening now, especially in the digital world with Web3 and crypto?
Now we get to the really disruptive part. We're seeing the emergence of digital instruments, particularly within Web3, the next generation of the internet built on blockchains that are specifically designed to try and recapture the logic of that steel ruler money. We're talking about deflationary tokens. Unlike fiat currencies, which are inherently inflationary, meaning their supply generally increases, these tokens are often designed with mechanisms to reduce their supply over time. They become predictably scarcer.
So the opposite of the leaky bucket.
Precisely. Think of it like this. An inflating balloon that just keeps getting bigger until it eventually pops. That's inflationary currency. Now contrast that with, say, a block of stone being carefully sculpted, becoming rarer and more refined over time. That's the idea behind a deflationary token. It's not wishful thinking, it's programmed mathematics. Take a project like Apertum, for example. They work with these kinds of instruments. Their native token, APTM, has built-in mechanisms like scheduled burns, where tokens are permanently destroyed. They also use smart contracts that can lock up tokens, removing them from circulation based on certain conditions. These aren't promises, they're coded rules designed to enforce scarcity mathematically.
That program's scarcity sounds attractive, definitely. But let's be real, the crypto and digital asset world is famous for its wild price swings, its volatility. How does that square with the idea of a stable steel ruler? Seems like quite a contrast.
That's a fair point. Volatility is absolutely a factor, especially with newer assets finding their footing. But it's crucial to distinguish between short-term price fluctuations, market noise, speculation, and the underlying mechanics of supply. The supply of fiat currency is designed to grow, pretty much guaranteed to erode value long-term. The supply of a well-designed deflationary token is programmed to decrease. The fundamental trajectory is different, and the psychological shift is huge. Think about it. Putting your savings in a traditional bank means you're essentially lending out a currency whose value is expected to decline. You're holding that leaky bucket, or maybe a measuring tape made of rubber that stretches. Holding a deflationary token, in theory, means you possess an asset where scarcity is designed to work for you over time. It's aiming for that steel ruler logic, even if the market takes time to settle.
So it's about the long-term design versus short-term market behavior.
Exactly. Look, governments aren't going to ditch fiat currencies anytime soon. They offer control, leverage. That's undeniable. But these deflationary digital instruments are establishing themselves as a fundamentally different kind of alternative, one based on verifiable mathematical scarcity. And as more people grasp this, well, the distinction between money and currency stops being just some academic theory. It becomes a real practical choice, maybe even an existential one.
Existential choice?
Wow.
Seriously. So here's a challenge for you listening. Take a piece of paper, make 3 columns, label them. Currency, put your euros, dollars, whatever you use daily. Money, think gold. Maybe other assets you believe truly preserve value over long periods. And deflationary tokens, maybe like APTM from Apertum, or others you know that have programmed scarcity. Then ask yourself honestly, in which of these columns do you really want to store the value of your hard work for the next 10, 20 years? Remember the core idea. Money preserves. Currency corrodes. Deflationary tokens are a digital attempt to bring back the logic of real money. This isn't about hyper-belief, it's cold, hard math. And maybe for the first time in a long while, you actually get to choose which system you trust.